Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Wednesday, June 27th, 2007. It's 5:05. We have this meeting underway. Everybody please rise for prayer. Could you lead us on prayer?
En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén. Pongamos en la presencia de Dios y pidamos al Señor que nos dé la gracia que esta reunión saquemos un buen fruto para nuestra gente que necesita tanto de todo el pueblo. Y que el Espíritu Santo nos ilumine, nos fortalezca y nos consuele por su gracia. Y le pido al Señor que el Señor todos los estén dirigiendo para que puedan orientar el pueblo y que esta reunión sea un buen beneficio para todo el pueblo. Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino, hágase nuestra voluntad en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día, perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden, no nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. Amén. Espíritu Santo, ilumina y santifícanos. Espíritu Santo, ilumina y santifícanos. Espíritu Santo, ilumina y santifícanos. En el nombre del Padre, del Hijo y del Espíritu Santo. Amén.
Padre, would you lead us on the pledge of allegiance?
I sure will.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Take the flag. Take the flag. The new one. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Mr. Bonner. Yes, sir. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I wanted, before we get started, acknowledge we have several folks here in the audience tonight, and we wanted to acknowledge our new mayor that's with us tonight here, Mr. Padamada. Welcome, sir.
Item number 2 is the public audience. We did have quite a few people, and we only have a 30-minute time allotment, so please, everybody, be courteous to the next speaker. And our first one will be the new mayor, Mayor Mata.
Like before the mayor starts, I'd just like to read a brief statement. Audience participation of a board meeting is limited to the public comment portion of the meeting designated for that purpose and to those individuals who are on the agenda. At all other times during the board meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the board. The entire public participation time will be allowed by the board is 30 minutes. Persons who do wish to sign up with the presiding officer or designee before the meeting shall indicate the topic about which they wish to speak. No presentation shall exceed 3 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint one person to present their views before the board. The board shall not tolerate disruption of the meeting by members of the audience. If any person disrupts the meeting by his or her words or actions, we have police officers that are going to be ready to have that person removed from the meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, sir.
There have been people that have been waiting to speak since about 3:10 this afternoon. I don't think it's asking too much that everybody who signed up to speak be allowed to speak, even if that goes over 30 minutes.
Let's see, we're going to try to contain ourselves within 30 minutes and follow the policy that we all adopted, sir.
Members,
Go ahead, sir.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, and ladies and gentlemen who are here today. First of all, Eddie, I have a message for you. Your position's still open over there in case you have a change of heart. He's a good man. You got a good man here, and we valued him over there. He did a great job for us, and it's a heartfelt appreciation on our part. I know many of us will have to be. We lost a valuable asset. We gained a valuable asset. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Globalization is here. Brownsville and the Ford and the region must compete now for goods and jobs in the world market. The little bit I know, I don't want to pretend to know a lot about what's going on here with Bay Bridge. I don't know what your strategic plan calls for. There's always two sides to every story. I'm very limited as to what I know. But based on what I know that 90 to 125 jobs will be created. Payroll is $2 million plus. The Brownsville Navigation District will gain about $118,000 in lease payments. Bay Bridge is, intending to do infrastructure improvements to the tune of $4 million, which is a big investment, a huge investment, that says that they're here to stay. The wages will be between $10 and $40 an hour with the benefits and retirement. They're willing to sign a 10-year lease. And this, to me, has a lot of also spin-offs, which are positives for Brownsville and the Fort as far as impact to our economy. We're here competing for jobs. We have a city that has one of the poorest populations in the country and the lowest paying jobs. So I'm asking you to consider very seriously, weigh very heavily, see if you can make it fit into your strategic plan, or where you can adjust it to accommodate them. If they're willing to do all this stuff as they say they're willing to do, and if it's something positive for the Fort and positive for the city, as mayor, I welcome the opportunities to create jobs for our city and our region, because we all win. That's what it's all about. Quality of life, improving quality of life, and ask you to seriously consider it and weigh very heavily when you make your decision, because it affects us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Mr. Barrera on items 6 and 7.
Honorable Chairman, Honorable all Navigation Commissioners, I'm a fair man, and don't let anybody tell you different. Someone said some time ago, America, my country, right or wrong, it's my country. I'm telling you today, my city, right or wrong, it's my city. Thus, I'm interested in my city and its well-being. I'm here to dialogue on an issue that has come up concerning the moratorium placed on not allowing any more companies that dismantle ships. This self-imposed easy enough on any more leases not being allowed to establish themselves here it's a bothersome issue. Father Jerry Frank, a liberal prince from here, wrote a good letter to the editor, and so did Neto Lopez. Both persons are sensible and concerned citizens. Father Frank is a little too liberal for my conservative views, but yet I agreed with his article in the Bay Bridge issue. I'm a fair man. I do not know all the surroundings of this Bay Bridge and the Emmy group working and dealings and background. We need good paying jobs with safety concerns. Companies will settle here and not leave us taxpayers holding the bag with advanced incentives, money, and damaging our infrastructure. According to Father Frank, this company has had no violations of any kind. Their present area in Chesapeake Bay. This so-called master plan, why has it taken so long to develop? Do you really need one? Does the port need to be spent? Does the port need to spend more money, tax money, on so-called plans? The decision makers are you, the commissioners, and not outsiders. I'm sure this company must adhere to all federal guidelines of OSHA and so forth. I have read that this company has not have had any lost time accidents since 1901. Gentlemen, I have a lot of respect for all of you. Have lost a little respect when we lost 21 million plus to the Phantom Bridge. That is why we, as area citizens, are concerned, interested, and vigilant on how our money is spent. Remember Titan Company, rubber company. They left us without paying the rent. I hope no one from this board, other colleagues, have a vested interest, partnership, or money-wise in the existing dismantling companies now operating in this port. My motto, not to know is bad, not to want to know is worse. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Barrera.
Mr. Neto Lopez, items 6 and 7 and 11.
Good afternoon, Chairman, and the board. I'm going to try to be short and sweet. I would like to see if you could extend the courtesy. I would like to read this particular item here, relate to the same thing we're talking about, regarding the path of the Brownsville situation, if you mind. I want to read in Spanish, and then we'll go ahead and read this. Dice, qué triste para Brownsville. Debían de unirse para recuperar los 22 millones de dólares que en nuestro puerto se le perdieron. Esto es el colmo. Han hecho un desastre de nuestro pueblo. Understand, no es de ahorita los que están aquí en esta área. Ha sido una cosa que se fue hace unos años y se fue atrofando más y más. Han hecho un desastre de nuestro pueblo y que es el que alimenta la economía del área del sur de Texas. Es un desastre. El puerto muy caído, salarios de 6 a 7 dólares por hora en la mayoría de la región industrial. En este momento debían de apoyar a la industria de Bay Bridge, que vienen a ofrecer salarios de 10 a 12 dólares la hora y pagan el aseguro para la gente, y más niveles de altos salarios para 100 o más trabajadores. Van a invertir 4 millones en las bodegas muy adecuadas, y estos individuos debían de haber estado aquí hace muchos años con los salarios a nivel de buen porvenir. Estuvimos en una época que perdió mucho dinero la gente, con no haber ganado lo justo, nos vamos para atrás. Ahora, I don't know if you want me to read it in English. Anybody didn't understand?
No, we understood.
I don't understand Spanish.
Ma'am?
She doesn't understand Spanish.
Oh, you don't understand Spanish? You want me to go ahead and say it in English now?
Expedite that.
The whole thing? No,
Oh.
just go on.
All right, okay. Anyway, I'm just hoping that the industry here that has been in effect right now is very hard, and I feel for you fellas, people that are up there, because I know that when the economy is low, everybody hurts. We do a lot without, but our people are doing without for a long, long time, and we need to have people like this Bay Bridge to come in and start setting up a level. Competition is what made this country, and I hope to God that we can follow that pattern and succeed. Because right now, I think if this proposal doesn't go through, we're going to have a hard time getting up. So I encourage you to to go ahead and make it a point that give every consideration possible and knock down any barrier possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez.
Mr. Fuentes to item 6 and 7.
I'm here.
Right here. Terry Frady, 6 and 7.
Hello, my name is Terry Frady. I am a concerned Brownsville citizen. I have no ties to Bay Bridge Company. I know many people who feel the same way that I feel, but they can't get to the meeting. So I came to tell you that we need to accept new businesses, not reject them. I have researched Bay Bridge on the net, and I found only good things about them. Just a couple. Bay Bridge is one of only 6 certified green ship-breaking yards in the U.S. Homes, very important. Homes located less than 1/4 of a mile from the Bay Bridge site in Charleston have increased in value 23% over the last 3 years. So it's not hurting the area. In speaking with some of the commissioners, I found that the concerns presented to me were not valid points for not allowing them in, and I have research if anybody wants to see it. And of course, Bay Bridge promises to pay good wages. I urge this commission to lift the moratorium on shipbreakers and allow Bay Bridge to apply for a lease at our port. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed.
Chris Valdez on behalf of Judge Costco.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for this time. County Judge Costos wished to be here today, but he had a previous engagement, so I'm going to read to you the letter that he wrote that he wanted you guys to hear. Dear Chairman and Commissioners, I write in support of your careful consideration of the proposal by Bay Bridge LLC to lease approximately 33 acres from the Port of Brownsville. Unfortunately, my schedule will not permit me to attend your June 27th board meeting and deliver these comments personally. However, with your permission, I will have Mr. Chris Valdez from my office read my letter into the record during the discussion of this item. Based on what I have read, Bay Bridge is exactly the type of employer our community needs and should welcome. In reviewing their business proposal, Bay Bridge is planning an immediate outlay of $4 million
$4 million in improvements to the port infrastructure. This investment would have a positive economic impact and stimulate commerce in Cameron County by creating jobs for contractors, laborers, and our citizens. Their investment would have required the acquisition of necessary goods and supplies from local businesses, not to mention benefit the local hotel, motel, and restaurant industries. Additionally, it is my understanding that Bay Bridge is committed to hiring up to 125 workers in its first year, with wages ranging from $10 to $40 an hour. At a minimum, in its first year, Bay Bridge would contribute over $2 million in payroll alone to our economy. Workers would also receive full health benefits, including dental and visual, and a 401k retirement benefit with a company match. As you may know, wages and related benefits of this kind are not commonplace to our area. It is my understanding that Bay Bridge would also pay nearly $118,000 annually in lease rentals to the port. To put this in perspective, in order for Cameron County to generate additional $118,000 in annual ad valorem taxes, our tax base would have to increase by almost $35 million. What impresses me the most is that it appears that Bay Bridge has not asked for and would not receive any financial incentives or other tax-funded inducements to locate here. That in itself is commendable, considering the many tax incentives and abatements many of our governmental entities have doled out to various businesses and industries, only to be disappointed for their inability to comply with what they have committed. I sincerely believe that giving Bay Bridge an opportunity to do business in our community and create a good paying job sends out the right message to other industries looking to relocate to Cameron County, and this message is in all our best interests. Lastly, because the environment is precious to all of us, and we are, as public servants, are its stewards, I have also been impressed with what I read of Bay Bridge's impeccable environmental record to date. However, Bay Bridge, as well as other shipbreakers and dismantlers at the port, must remain in strict compliance with all state and federal environmental rules and regulations, and comply with all rules, regulations related to occupational safety and health administration, and submit to regular inspections by the appropriate agencies. I believe this proposal Bay Bridge is a win-win for the Port of Brownsville, Cameron County, and its taxpayers. I trust you will agree with me and allow Bay Bridge to lease the acreage they are requesting. Sincerely, Carlos H. Castro. And, I would just like to add, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, that, you guys have a tough decision that you're going to vote on. Being on boards myself, I've been faced with some tough decisions, but from the outside looking in, because we're citizens and, there's a lot more to an agenda item, as you all know. Like the Mayor Amada said, there's two sides to every story, but from the outside looking in, from the outside it looks good. It looks good for our area, and I hope that you consider giving this company a chance. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you.
Dan Reynolds?
Chairman, fellow commissioners, let's put everything aside. Let's think about the welfare of Brownsville, Port of Brownsville. Let's do away with this moratorium. Let's think about what financial incentives this company brings. If you people give these people a chance, they're going to build permanent buildings. They're not going to have house trailers out there. Permanent buildings that will be an asset for the Port of Brownsville for years to come. It'll help your bond rate. It'll help your tax rate. I ask you, in the name of the citizens of Brownsville, give them a 25-year lease, like you do. Treat them like you do MPLs. I think it's only fair. I know it's hard. I've sat there before. But I know you people down deep in your heart, you know, you want to help the people of Brownsville get a livable wage. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
Mr. De Jong?
Good afternoon, Honorable Commissioner, Chairman. Please allow me to speak to you guys this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a concerned citizen of this community. This is the reason why I'm here. Many years ago, my mother told me that they were sold under this project of the port coming into Brownsville back in the late early thirties. They were led to believe that, the port would be self-sufficient, there would be no more taxes as of 1955. Here we are in 2007, and we're still paying taxes. Here comes a corporation company that wants to come into Brownsville, and I just would like to see if you allow this company to give them a fair chance to come into this community and see if they can help us jumpstart this economic situation that we have here presently in this area of South Texas. So I hope and pray that you will please consider. I know it's a tough decision. So, like I said, I hope and pray that you consider it and approve this company coming in and helping us in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leal.
Bob Osten.
Bob Olson.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners of the Navigation District, I'm pleased that I was asked to address the Commission regarding items 6 and 7 on the agenda. If you allow me to do so. First, I'd like to just say my interest in addressing this matter is as a lessee and business owner working in the port. I have no involvement with nor do I gain anything from the existing shipwreckers. Secondly, that I'm very interested in job creation and believe it is the foundation for sound family growth in the Brownsville area. A short history. I began working in the port in 1965. After a decade of declining cargo operations, the port welcomed shipbreakers in the early 1970s. The companies dredged slips for the vessels, extended rail lines and roads into their sites, brought in mobile cranes and equipment needed to cut up the vessels. Ships waiting to be dismantled lined the banks waiting their turn to be cut up. A decade or so later, vessels for scrapping were scarce. With no raw material, the breakers began moving their mobile equipment out of town. Little effort was made to clean up the sites that were saturated with oily waste and littered with debris. Working along with port officials, we showed these sites prospective tenants who were interested in waterfront sites, especially with slips. Time after time, these prospects were discouraged by the condition of the property. Due to cost, cleanup was not an option, and the property remained vacant. We fast forward now to the mid-1990s. After the Cold War, the Maritime Administration began disposing of U.S. vessels, which must be scrapped in the U.S., although very costly as compared to other countries. Shipbreakers sought out the Port of Brownsville for various reasons, including the proximity to the Mexican scrap market, reasonable cost and availability of labor, but primarily because they could find property that could be leased for scrapping purposes. Since the port could not use these sites for any other purposes, I recall that the port management decided to lease land previously used for shipbreaking to that industry again. I also recall that the moratorium was recommended to and approved by port commissioners because they did not want to see additional waterfront land ruined for future development by other than shipbreaking industry. I believe the moratorium was a sound move by those commissioners. The present shipbreakers that are presently leasing sites are buying for a limited supply of vessels. But sometime in the not-so-distant future, there will be no vessels, no U.S. vessels to be had. Scrapping foreign flag vessels here is not an option because those can be scrapped in other countries where the cost of labor and operations is a fraction of that here. It seems that the historical curve of the industry that these companies will close, the equipment moved elsewhere, and the sites will probably be left in the condition they were when they were taken over, useless for occupation by other industry. My opinion on items 6 and 7 is that there is preciously little waterfront land available that has existing utilities connecting it to the rest of the port. We regularly show this virgin land to companies of diverse industries. Regularly, ones that would be in business in the port for decades to come. These are companies that will invest many millions of dollars in capital improvements. I do not believe that leasing a virgin site to another shipbreaker is in the best interest of the port or to its lessees. The BND and, invariably, lessees will bear the cost of extending roads, utilities, and rail lines to the east once this prime property is taken. It is my opinion that the Commissioners should retain the moratorium And should there be any amendments to the leasing policy, it should be to add that no additional ship dismantling or scrap yards will be allowed on the north side as well. I'm presently serving on the Port's Master Plan Committee. We recommended to this board that Black and Beach be hired to complete the master plan as requested, and the board agreed with this decision by its vote. I recommend that you wait for the opinions and direction of the master plan. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ostis.
Robert Berry.
Colonel, Chairman, Commissioners, everyone here. My name is Robert Berry with International Shipbreaking. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of International Shipbreaking. And yes, this issue affects me personally and affects my company completely. I've been listening to the allegations, accusations, and so-called facts that have been put in the newspaper, and the good people of our city who are up here speaking, who believe what's out there. I'm here to tell you, I have a lot of facts. I have more than I have time for to tell you, but I'll tell you this. New jobs, there will not be. They say there will be, but there won't be. It all comes down to capacity. At the moment, the 4 shipbreakers, and they're all good shipbreakers, they're all law-abiding shipbreakers, including ISL, which is a part of the Navy Ship Disposal Program that is the premier program in the world. People around the world come to the Navy program to look for how and why to do shipbreaking. And the insinuations that we see in these ads and articles and from people speaking that this company is going to come in here and show us how to do shipbreaking in an environmentally sound and in a safe manner are wrong. They're far from facts. They're worse than facts. They're worse than lies. It's not true. We are the best in the world, and not just my company, but the other companies here. And we're still here, and with the help of this community. This community helped us get started, helped ISL get started 12 years ago. We've been here 12 years ago paying our rent. We pay over 2 times, almost 3 times as much rent as they intend to pay. Rent is immaterial. Everybody in the port pays rent. Doesn't matter whether you pay rent or not. We pay, and we've paid the whole time we've been here. 12 years we've been here. To say that they're going to come here and you make it sound like they're going to be more responsible than the rest of us. Well, that's bunk. There's been shipbreakers here that have been here longer than we have, 20 years. And we're all here and still here, and still we all comply with the laws. And I know that I'm taking too much time here. I got a little bit excited. But the main thing is, let me go on with a couple of facts here. ISL, I can only speak for ISL, not for the other shipbreakers. Our pay rate is from $7.50 to $75 an hour. Very few people are at that $7.50 rate. Few workers stay at that low end of the scale because we have training, certification, schools, advancement offered to all our workers. Many of them take advantage of that. Most of them take advantage of that, and most of them end up at a much higher scale pay rate than that low end. And by the way, I want to pay tribute to our workforce here in the Valley. I don't believe that companies come here for cheap labor. Our labor here, there's a work ethic and a culture of work here in the Valley that is unparalleled, I've seen, and I've been around the world, Companies come here from around the world to recruit in the Valley because there are people here who work and get the job done. And our people do that, and I'm sorry, I just can't believe that people seem to think if they shout and make enough noise, that makes what they say a fact. Well, it's just not true. I'm almost out of my time here. The companies, when they come here, the new company, and I won't talk about them, I'm not saying they're a bad company, I don't know. But when they come here, our capacity, right now, we're only working at less than half capacity. If they come here, that increases the capacity. That won't mean that more ships and more work will be here. They're gonna come here, they're already using our labor from the valley in their yards on the East Coast. They're gonna come here and take labor that's already trained, that already knows what it's doing, that's working for us in the same job right now. That's what's gonna happen. They're going to cannibalize our work, our labor, and our business. And we can compete. I'm not worried about competing with it. I just want to put the fact out there that it's not going to be new jobs. There's not going to be any new jobs. I'm sorry that people believe that. They believe the PR, and they believe all the ads and newspaper articles that are put out there. But it's just not true. They need to know that the taxpayers need to know that this port that belongs to all of us is a good place, produces jobs and opportunity for all. The people running the B&D, Brownsville Navigation District, are hardworking and honorable. The elected officials and volunteers who give so much to our community deserve respect and recognition, not vilification and accusation that we've been seeing. And the political and financial expedience may require such things, but I'm here to tell you decency and honor do not. And that's all I'm going to say for now. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Berry.
Father Jerry Frank.
I'm St. Joseph's Parish here, so my people are here with us, and also work with Valley Interfaith. I want to commend you, first of all, for choosing Ed Campanano. We worked with him on some other issues, and he's always been very professional, informed, articulate, and courteous. And I think he's going to work out pretty well for you in the long run. I hope so. But on this other thing with Bay Bridge, I don't think anybody's knocking the ship dismantling companies that are already existent here. We're talking the praises of what we've heard about Bay Bridge and talked to people about and what they've affirmed about this company. There's no reason for the previous speaker, I think, to be afraid of losing workers to Bay Bridge. If he can pay the kind of wages that they pay, if he can ensure pensions, health coverage like they do, if their records on worker safety are comparable, if they have the same impeccable environmental record, which is pretty questionable among ship dismantling companies, according to my limited knowledge. I don't want to put any of these companies down, any of these companies that are existing down, and just as he doesn't want to put Bay Bridge down. But we've fought for workers for a long time, for wages that are dignified, for opportunities, and I mean, this looks like a pretty good deal. And if the present ship dismantling companies are afraid of them, maybe we ought to take a good, hard look at why they're afraid. Why they might be afraid of losing workers to somebody who is more attractive, more respectful of labor, possibly. I mean, I can understand that fear. I think competition is good, and our people surely need the opportunity, but I think Bay Bridge will bring to the area.
Thank you, Father Frank.
Thank you, Father Frank.
Rafael Carrasco.
I have to lift up this microphone a little bit.
Taller you go past the roof.
Good afternoon, Mr. Campirano. Welcome to the port. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, fellow tenants, and members of the community. My name is Rafael Carrasco, and thank you for the opportunity to make the brief statement that I'm going to make. There's been a significant amount of conjecture and debate about lifting the moratorium on new ship recycling facilities at the Port of Brownsville. It's no secret that lifting such measure would welcome competitors into an industry that is already overcrowded in our region. My company, Esco Marine, is an intrinsic part of that industry, so I can hardly claim that I'm giving you an impartial opinion. What I can do is offer you clarification and perspective on information presented by those who have brought forth the motion to remove the moratorium. Perspective which I believe Mayor Almada called from the inside out rather than from the outside in. First, I will start with a verifiable fact. As of May 31st, 2007, the U.S. Maritime Administration had 137 vessels slated specifically for disposal, not 260. Merit's ship disposal program does not dispose of obsolete vessels simply by awarding dismantling contracts. The agency also channels these ships into donation programs, reefing programs, and even foreign sales. Out of the 137 vessels available for possible dismantling, approximately 15 of them are already being dismantled or are already out for bid. Assuming the balance of the vessels all make it to a ship dismantling facility, it is clear that the supply is not quite as abundant as has been presented to be. Couple this with the fact that most, if not all, the ship recycling facilities in the U.S. report excess capacity, and it is easy to see why most, if not all, ship recycling tenants at the Port of Brownsville have undertaken capital projects to diversify their enterprise. Let's turn now to the well-publicized and politically appealing notion of lifting the moratorium and allowing a new ship recycling facility will bring $2 million worth of new payroll into our community. Understandably, this prospect has elicited a substantial amount of support. But as responsible leaders, the commissioners must examine the feasibility and impact of such a promise. The delicate nature of ship recycling requires an experienced and qualified workforce attending to the tasks of remediation and dismantling. A new ship recycling facility at the Port of Brownsville has two alternatives to facilitate its new operations. One is to recruit experienced personnel from the existing facilities, and another one is to import it from another region. In both cases, the net result is no new payroll dollars into our community. In fact, the 4 existing Brownsville ship recycling facilities currently sustain upwards of 1,000 hourly wage employees combined, many of which routinely move from one of these 4 facilities to the other. The logical explanation for this phenomenon is twofold. First, there is only a limited number of workers that are willing to do this type of work, and most newcomers quit within a week of their first day, citing excess difficulty. They don't even bother going through the training programs and so forth. Second, with most ship recyclers in Brownsville and around the country depending on MARAD vessels as their main supply of work, a vessel awarded to one contractor is often one less vessel on which another can deploy its workforce. Very important point. The net result is an ebb and flow of personnel requirements in each facility without an actual impact on the total jobs available amongst all. Another ship recycling facility at the Port of Brownsville will not substantially increase the number of jobs available, it will simply spread them amongst one more contractor. In this situation, as in most complex issues, our leaders, you guys, must also analyze less obvious consequences to their decisions. For example, whenever one of the existing recyclers at the Port of Brownsville successfully bids on a merit dismantling contract, the work is guaranteed to come to Brownsville, thereby maintaining jobs and dollars flowing through our local economy. Not so necessarily if the successful bidder, in addition to having an operation in Brownsville, also operates a ship recycling facility only a few miles away from an East Coast reserve fleet that holds the awarded vessel. Business logic dictates that such a company will consider carefully the cost of towing the awarded vessel, thereby making it more attractive to dismantle it in its out-of-state facility rather than towing it thousands of miles. This scenario might actually result in a reduction of vessels through our own port despite the addition of a new tenant. A little bit counterintuitive. In the past few weeks, there has also been a great deal of print and talk about so-called green yard certification. It has been implied that those requesting the moratorium to be lifted hold such a certification. Let me assure you, neither the Maritime Administration, nor the Navy, nor even the EPA award or recognize such a distinction. Most companies in the ship recycling industry strive for a more environmentally responsible approach to vessel dismantling, and in that sense, none is greener than the other except in their own eyes. I conclude by asking all of you present, and particularly you guys, our commissioners, to consider that if it is their charge as leaders of our community to bring more jobs to the district, is it not at least as important, if not more, for them to preserve existing jobs? This notion may not be as politically marketable, but it is certainly politically responsible. I have nothing bad to say about Bay Bridge Enterprises. I simply want people to see a different perspective, because even good intentions can turn into miserable results without ample foresight. If you will allow me one last depiction, all of you on the board and most of you in the audience have a notion for business. You know that there are only so many corner gasoline stations you can put in an intersection before you see healthy business from one turn into mediocre business for 3 or 4. Mediocre business breeds layoffs and shutdowns and leaves behind empty gasoline station lots that others may not want to leave. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Carrasco.
Dick Shaw.
Commissioners, I just wanted to go ahead and say, I was here at the initial meeting when we discussed this, and I think one of the major points that were brought up, that I tried to bring up to you, is that being on the master plan committee, it was important to us to hire a company that can design a master plan, focus on how we can use our land, where our utilities are, and just look at the future rather than now. And I think we've done a good job in getting a company like that, and just ask you to go ahead and use that ability from that company by asking them all the questions that you asked them. I am one of the other ship recyclers. I think the other ship recyclers in front of me did a good job in talking about different points. It's very easy to talk about jobs. The city of Brownsville has gone through that, obviously, with other companies as well. I think it's important to understand will those jobs be there tomorrow, a year from now, 2 years from now, and so on. There are a limited number of ships. I think there were some facts that were misstated originally, and I think they've been clarified. Once again, I hope you agree with me to keep them interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw.
Our last speaker is Commissioner Douglas.
Thank you, Donna. Mr. Campidano, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. I want to thank those of you that have come today. Some of you have waited over 2 hours to speak for 3 minutes or less. I want to especially applaud our new mayor, who on his first full day on the job thought it important enough to Brownsville and to the Port of Brownsville to come out here and support this business. I also want to salute and commend Judge Costos for writing this cogent letter and for having it delivered by one of his assistants. This is actually a happy day for me, a gratifying day for me. And the reason why is because it's a good day for the Port of Brownsville. And it's a good day for the Port of Brownsville because for the first time, the people are involved in the Port of Brownsville. When I was growing up, taking my wife and children out to the island, the Port of Brownsville was that place on the right-hand side of the road that was run by port people. And it was port people that spent $21 million on a non-existent bridge that we are paying for. And it was port people that passed this moratorium in 2002 that our workers are suffering from. And when the people are involved, those types of decisions will not be repeated. This business about the master plan committee, that we should wait for the master plan to be finished before we decide. I think I know a little bit about the master plan committee because I created it. It was my idea. And I say that not to brag, but not to take a back seat to anyone who claims to know more than I do about what its purpose was. I brought that idea to the port back in 2005. I appointed my good friend Commissioner De Los Santos to chair that committee, and I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, it was never the intention to stifle growth. The intention and the purpose of the Master Plan Committee was to focus our resources, how we could leverage them to maximize the economy of the port, to grow the tax base, to improve the quality of life for our citizens. And to hear someone say that we should wait for the Master Plan to be finished first before we allow this company in is like a young couple who is struggling to make ends meet, who's counting their pennies every day and projecting what their income will be for the year, then to be told by the Lottery Commission that they've won a $2 million lottery prize, and them to say, we can't accept that because it's not in our budget. That's what that logic is about. This is a windfall for the Port of Brownsville. I'm looking for the red carpet outside that welcomes Bay Bridge to Brownsville. I think it's actually kind of sad that we're even having this discussion. If any one of us had woken up tomorrow morning and read that this company had gone to Corpus, that $2 million in payroll had just been added to the Port of Corpus Christi, that $118,000 in lease rentals had been added to the coffers of the Port of Corpus Christi, if $4 million in immediate improvements had been added to the workforce in Corpus Christi, we would all be envious of that, and we would all be saying, why didn't we get it? What could we have offered them to have come here instead. We have that opportunity today, my fellow commissioners, without costing us a dime, in incentives. Don't send the wrong message to all of the other folks that want to come to Brownsville. That when a good company comes with high-paying jobs that will allow our people to advance in their earnings, we say no. Let's just shut the whole economic development community down if we do that. Commissioner Cristiano is our representative on the BEDC. His job is to market the port. And here, the market has come to us. Are we going to say yes, or are we going to say no? I want this for all of us. I want this for every one of us. I want this for our community. I want this for our workers. Not one person has disputed the fact that wages will increase. Not one person. Not one person. And so I look forward to lifting this moratorium. This was a bad policy. It is anti-competitive. It is anti-worker. It is anti-American. We need to lift this moratorium today.
Item number 3, receive, court director's report.
Court director's report.
Welcome, Mr. Capiano.
I will tell you that, as you know, my schedule for this week was to concentrate on meeting with the staff. I will tell you that I'm halfway through with those meetings, and there are many challenges. And I look forward to not only helping working with this commission, but with the staff and the stakeholders. And the stakeholders are many, not necessarily just the people here at the court, but throughout the community in addressing some of those concerns. I do think the master plan is important, and I do think the master plan is a critical element that I look forward to continuing to work on. I will tell you that there are a lot of needs and a lot of wants, and one of the challenges is how to address in a priority manner what those needs, what those wants are, and more importantly, how do we develop very effective plans to accomplish those, and working with this commission and working with all involved on setting goals and priorities and moving on. I think we all want the same thing. Nothing that I think that has been said here, whether it's regarding Bay Bridge or anything, is nothing that we all don't want, and that is to better the community through producing good paying jobs. And I look forward to being very much a part of that, and certainly digging my teeth into Bay Bridge as well.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. Next item.
Item number 4, consider an action on the following consent agenda items. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of June 13, 2007. B, approval to authorize payments over $25,000. Item number 1, Admiral Ship Agency, steamship agency credit on account due to showing on ship channel entrance, $49,688.96. Item C, 1, Landro Inc. doing business as ST Marine, an amendment. Item 2, Leland May Milford Trust amendment. Item 3, ST Energy LLC new lease.
So moved.
Can we,
Oh, you need to recuse on item 1.
get C1, if we can take it out?
A motion to approve except for C1.
Second. Okay, we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Sella, seconded by Commissioner Musto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We need to pick up item 4C1. Taking 4C1 out.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Please state that I abstain.
Item number 5, consider an action on waiving attorney-client privilege on all documents related to B&G Bridge investigation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners, this is an item that I asked to be placed on the agenda because, as we all know, District Attorney Villalobos has convened a special grand jury, announced the convening of the grand jury in May. It is my understanding that the grand jury is now meeting and has begun receiving testimony from witnesses. I think it's only appropriate and can only help the grand jury and the prosecutors and the district attorney himself if they have access to all of the documents that have been compiled. These are documents that specifically were prepared by our lawyers, by the B&D's lawyers, for the purpose of assisting us in connection with the bridge investigation. One such example is in late December of 2004, early January of 2005, Mr. Charles Willett, who we had hired to conduct our investigation, prepared a report, and that report had two parts. The first part we released to the public, and it's actually on our website. Anybody can go and download it. The second part has never been released because it is considered privileged and protected by the attorney-client privilege. That included Mr. Willett's recommendations. It also included the work of the forensic accountant. And what I want to do is I want to release, and I want to waive in a very limited way the attorney-client privilege on all such documents that may be protected by the attorney-client privilege, so that if the grand jury subpoenas any of us or any staff members, and we need to refer to these documents or refresh our recollection with these documents, we can do so freely without having to go to the district court and get a special permission, which would only cost time and money. So my motion is to waive in a limited sense the attorney-client privilege on all documents produced by our lawyers for the Brownsville Navigation District, and allow those documents to be used only by the special grand jury, law enforcement, state or federal.
Mr. Salas, I don't have a problem with this item other than identifying the documents that you would like the attorney-client privilege waived, due to the fact that our staff is going to have to deal with which items do they release or not. If we are able to identify them, they would facilitate, their release to the grand jury. And particularly because there's 50 to 100 boxes of materials that our attorneys have related to the discovery and production and all of that. And I just want to make sure that the staff know exactly what documents we're waiving our attorney-client privilege, and if we're only waiving it to the grand jury, or, if it's not an open records, the document subject to open records, I don't want that released.
We're not talking about releasing them to the public in general, because they obviously could then be obtained by the wrong people. And we're not talking about boxes of documents, because our attorneys did not generate or produce those boxes of documents. Obviously, there's a difference between those documents that were obtained in connection with the litigation versus the documents that were created by the lawyers for the purpose of rendering legal services to us. I'm talking about, for example, Mr. Willett's confidential report. I'm talking about, just as an example, emails between our attorneys and us, and emails from our attorneys to each other. In the event that any of those communications are privileged, we would be releasing that privilege, and sharing them only with law enforcement, as I mentioned. So we're really not talking about a very big group of documents. As far as staff, what do you think about that, Mr. Renfro? Could you help out in that, in identifying what those documents are?
Well, if what you're saying is that it would only be documents generated by B&D attorneys, yes, I think that's relatively limited.
Okay.
I would just emphasize that this would be, I understand your motion, it would be not to raise an attorney-client privilege objection to a subpoena were one for it.
That's correct. Or a request, if a witness is requested to appear before the grand jury, or even subpoenaed, but documents are not subpoenaed, that witness would then be free to go before the grand jury with all documents that they may need to refresh their recollection.
If that's the case, then I don't have a problem with it.
But they would be limited to documents to or from B&D.
Absolutely.
And the board has previously voted to cooperate with law enforcement.
Right, that's still the fact.
If we don't pass this motion today, then what will happen is we'll have to have a court proceeding to determine whether or not those documents can be produced. And that wouldn't help anyone. And it would certainly cost us money.
Okay, as long as the staff knows, if they're able to produce these documents without,
I think
any
Mr. Renfro has a
problems.
pretty good handle of what those are.
Okay, then, I don't have a problem with that.
I would just like to add that if this will pass, that we make sure that our counselor makes sure that we identify and write everything in writing what we're gonna be releasing.
Well, you're not gonna release anything until you get a subpoena, yeah, so you can identify what's in there.
I think from the staff position, if we are subpoenaed, we would certainly check with counsel and check what information is needed and what needs to be released, so, you know, that shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say, Mr. Chairman, is that as you may not know, but I know Commissioner Mato knows, that what the witness testifies to before the grand jury is confidential and privileged. And I think also what he or she may be bringing to the grand jury should also be kept confidential. So if we start off with a large group, not so large group, we start off with a pool of documents that we're releasing the privilege of, then anybody subpoenaed to testify can bring any of those documents without any further notice.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 6, consider an action to lift a moratorium on accepting applications for shipbreaking leases.
So moved. So moved.
I think we need to have a little discussion before we proceed with that.
I'm already convinced, so I went ahead and moved.
Mark and Baybridge, is there any way I can make a comment?
Yes, sir. She's gonna go up first. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Gonzalez. The board, at their meeting of May the 23rd, 2007, tabled an item that was to be brought up at this meeting, and that was the lifting of a moratorium that's in place of not allowing any more shipbreaking operations in the port. This item has been placed today again for the board's consideration.
Did we get the information that was requested at the last meeting from, y'all were able to get us the information?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The information about our other operation and what we would be doing on the other side of the property, yes, sir.
Could you please identify yourself?
Yes, sir. Mark McPherson with Baybridge Enterprises.
Is that, I received something and I just got it today. I don't know if this the information.
What you have there is a disc which is about our parent company, Adani Global, Adani Group, and then from there just a breakdown of what the secondary operation is, which is our translate facility. What we're bringing is not just a dismantling. That's the biggest discussion, and the reason for that is because it's dismantling, but we are a diversified company. We are looking at doing a secondary operation on the property.
I had been provided with another CD previously. I don't know if is this the same thing?
It's probably,
Mr.
yes, sir.
Montoya?
Yes.
You should be the same package, sir.
Mr. McPherson, have you had an opportunity to discuss your company with our new port director? Have you had an opportunity to sit down with them and discuss what what you're bringing in, what
No,
where
sir.
you...
What we've had a very limited conversation with the master planner. Actually, Halpros called us, and we had a short conversation with them about it. But other than that, no, sir, we haven't had an opportunity to do that yet.
Have you made yourself available to them if they want to speak with you?
They were supposed to come to our facility, and I haven't received a phone call or an email back from them. They were planned a trip to visit us, and I haven't seen them. So I have made phone calls and tried to contact them, yes, sir.
You've invited them?
Yes, sir.
You've made yourself available?
Yes, sir.
You've invited them to your facility?
Told them our doors are open to anybody, any commissioners, anybody. We're open. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm glad Mr. McPherson, I have not met him, but I appreciate knowing the face behind the brochure, because the brochure certainly looks pretty, but I like to kick the tires. I do believe, this is a significant issue, and while we've heard from Baybridge, I do think it's important that we have an opportunity to talk about some of our concerns, and there's a lot of property on this port, and we're talking about one particular site. Is that or not the best interest of the port and the lessees? There's a lot of issues. I do think it's important to sit down and hash those out with Baybridge and not with, other folks representing Baybridge, and I welcome that opportunity and certainly would like to, conclude before you leave this evening, to set something up so we can, we can get into the brass tacks of what our concerns, at least some that have been expressed, what you bring to the table, but, all, at least that I have seen, is the material that's been handed to me. So this is the first time I've actually seen or even heard the voice of a Bay Ridge representative, so I look forward to visiting.
And Mr. Campirano, and that's a point well taken, and the action item is to lift the moratorium on accepting applications for shipbreaking leases. So what we're doing is we're opening the front door and letting people come in and meet our port director. We need to open the front door first.
We obviously, they came through the door with the moratorium. I don't know if that's, I would say I wouldn't talk to them whether we had a moratorium in place or not. So
I think it's important that that Mr. Campirano has an opportunity to meet with Mr. McPherson and other representatives of Bay Bridge. I have some additional questions that I would like to look into. I'd like to look into some of the other operations that are ongoing here at the port. There's a lot of environmental issues, like the mayor said earlier, it's a difficult decision that we have. There is a moratorium. It was put on for a reason. Before we lift it, I want to be able to make a rational decision, consider all the factors. There's conflicting information that I'm receiving, from Bay Bridge, from the other shipbreakers. I'd like an opportunity to look into all of this, take everything into consideration before I make a decision at this time. And that's why, I would like an opportunity to look at all this, and I would like to have some more time to do that. Meanwhile, I would recommend that Mr. McPherson meet with Mr. Campirano and address your issues and your company, and maybe answer some of the questions that I have. So.
Yes, sir. We can answer any of your questions, no problem. I'd like to make one comment if you guys don't mind. Number one, to the other shipbreakers here, nothing we have said has been meant to shine a negative light on the other shipbreakers. When we bring up issues, the issues we bring up are because of the way our industry is looked at. Our industry is looked at as a dirty industry. If you watch the Discovery Channel, you see how they do it in Bangladesh and stuff like that. So when we bring up environmental, it's not to say that the people here do a bad job. The American shipbreakers do it better than anybody in the world, including the people here in Brownsville. We're the best in the world, the group that is here in the United States. So there's no negative, there's no accusations I'm trying to make about anybody here at the port. I mean, they are a good crew, good, respectable people. But our industry is looked at bad, and that's why when we do present our industry to people, we hit certain topics, because we know that's the first question that we get asked. Do you have people running on your ships barefoot, covered in oil and asbestos? No, we don't do that, but you see it on the Discovery Channel. So that's why we hit those topics. From there, we just, the talk is so much of the shipbreaking, and that is what we do. We are dismantlers, but there is the other side of it. And today we had been trying to get a hold of some people, finally got a hold of them today, a company that's trying to do business with the port, Water Rail. Had a nice phone talk with Deborah over there. She's looking at the container barge business out of this area. And she is very excited with the ability of us to do a transload facility to bring these containers in where we would transload material to leave here. So excited that we've told her once this is resolved, if it is resolved and we do come to the Port of Brownsville, we will set up a meeting in Houston with her. We would bring CMA, the shipping line, in, because she has not been able to break that barrier, to come in, meet with her in Houston, because they're following us because of the amount of business that Adani does with them. From there, opening a container facility here, which I think they've told me they've already talked to the port about opening a container facility here, which would just be a great synergy. That's what we're looking to do. And from there, any questions you have, we've been questioned about, how long we want to be here. We put an initial 5 years on the lease. We're willing to sign a 20-year lease initially, but the paperwork only gave us the option to do 5 years. If you want us to sign a 20, we'll sign a 20-year lease. Environmentally, we're, with the other breakers here. In the past, years ago, things were done wrong, and the industry had, a bad light, and overseas it has a bad light. But nowadays, with how we're regulated, environment is not a problem. We cannot do it wrong. We have to return the land back into the condition that it was when we started, when we finished the vessel. If we don't do that, we don't get another contract. So we are regulated to the hilt, and we'll make sure that's done. So, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that we're here. We want to answer your questions. We want to be part of this community.
And you raised a lot of good issues, and some of those are things that you can discuss with our director, and that he can bring to us and advise us about. I think we need a little bit more time, and I'd like to table the item. I'd also like to listen to, what the master plan has to say about this. I know Commissioner Zavaleta doesn't agree with that, but, I would like to see what it says. We're paying a lot of money to get this master plan. It allows us to look into the future. If you do come in, is that the best area, or should we be looking at different areas? I don't know. I don't have all that information. I'd like to have all of that before I make, this is an important decision. Either way, it could affect a lot of people. So, I'd like to move to table this item.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion on the floor already to lift the moratorium. I had a motion to approve item 6. And we've already tabled this once. This board has shown an incredible capacity to take action when it involved releasing Dannenbaum Engineering from $21 million worth of liability. About 5 minutes after we received the release, we came in here and acted to do that. I was the one that was asking for more time for the public to study that agreement, and to let the public be informed of those terms, but the board rejected that advice and wanted to act that day, 10 minutes after the agreement was first presented to us. They wanted to act that day and release Dannenbaum from liability and send the taxpayers the bill. Now what we've got is a company that wants to come in and help our people, pay them more money, and we're now going to table them twice. I don't understand that.
Well, I believe it was over 3 months that we were talking to the attorneys in executive session, and if you would have been here, maybe you would have been part of that. But without talking about not going to that discussion, going back to the old and moving forward. First of all, I got to tell you, I'm gonna agree with Commissioner Masso, because to give him time to actually get more educated, just like myself. Having said that, I am not, and I want this to be very clear, I'm not against y'all coming here at all. But I think it would be totally irresponsible of myself not to get educated, because we are stewards of this land. This land is the taxpayers' land. And it would be wrong of me to make a decision without me being fully educated. And if you don't respect that opinion, that I should be educated before just leasing the land and then having a catastrophe 5 years down the line. Not saying you will be, I hope you sign a 40-year lease and we double your rent. But not going there, I really do hope that you have a chance to speak with our director. I hope you have a chance to meet with our planning and master plan. I believe, if we went to the effort of approving a master plan, which was a great idea to have a master plan for this port, it only makes sense that we, in the middle of doing the master plan, we consult with them to get this right. And I think y'all can respect that. And you're not going anywhere, right, within the next month or so?
In the next month, no, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so I just want to make that clear, because I don't want people to go back and think that we're saying no to you. And I'm not saying that at all. And
Let's say yes.
well, again,
Let's say yes.
I would like to make an educated decision. I would like to get more information. I would like to gather, it's true. You guys have a very, very dirty history, in your industry. But the port is dirty. We're industrial. So we just have to work and see what's best for the port. So I know there's a motion on the table right now to lifting it by Commissioner Zavaleta, but because you got a
Commissioner, something, you want to say something?
No second, I will go with second Mr. Massa's motion.
Okay, do we have a second for Commissioner Zavaleta's motion?
Sir, for us to move forward, would just lifting the moratorium to show us that, there is an opportunity here for us to come in. That's, if anything, that's what we'd like to ask. If we can, if anything, just from there, we lift it for us to have the ability to know that we can move forward for negotiations. And then from there, if it's good for the port, it's good for the port. If you guys decide it's not good for the port, it's just so we're given the fair shot where we sit down with the director, the commissioners, you guys ask your questions, we'll give you what you need. And from there, if you guys decide from that point that we're not good for your port, fine, I sit down, I know you will see it though, that we could be a good member, but.
I agree. That's all we're asking is that he be allowed into the front door and decide whether we want to buy.
I think he is at the front door.
No, he's not. He's knocking for the second day.
I would just like to add that, you know, to begin with, this is strictly my opinion, the way I look at things, that this was handled all wrong, and we should have come in through the front door instead of the back, trying to come in through the back. And as we spoke earlier, you know, I think it's extremely important that our new port director be given the chance to have dialogue with you. Yes, sir. That's the most important thing at this point. The other problem here that I have is the moratorium. We need to be more in tune and learn more about why the moratorium was put in place. And we also know that there was some research on that has not been put forth in front of us. And we need to make sure, like Commissioner Mazo said and Commissioner Cristiano said, that we need to be educated. And it's not that we're against you, and I have said that. It's that we want to make a rational decision based on what we have at hand. And ultimately, we're looking for the community to reap the benefits on this decision that's going to be made. And basically, that's where I stand on that. And we can move forward from that point.
And I'll apologize to you and everybody, because I was out of town all last week. I didn't have an opportunity to, you know, come to the board and address some of these issues. And so that's why I want to table it in order to get some of this information that I need.
And I want you guys to feel open to ask it. I'd love to meet with the director. I'd love to talk to you. I was hoping to have good conversations for the last almost month with the master planners, which I didn't get the opportunity to have.
Not because of your fault.
No, sir, because we invited them. They decided, they said they were gonna come. Never got a phone call, email. I emailed constantly asking them, where are you? We're here, come see us. One phone call from Hal Crow for an hour I got. And then from there, right here at the end, I called 3 or 4 times saying, if you need anything else, please let me know. I'm trying to give you all the information. What do you need?
I think we can help you there, I think we can.
Please, because we want to give you the information.
Yeah, I mean,
Because we don't want to drag this on either. We want
But
a
Mr.
decision
Campiano,
made.
you understand and agree that it would be important to pass item 6 so that dialogue can begin, so that.
I believe, you know, the moratorium is one issue, Bay Bridge is another issue.
Exactly.
I don't think you need to lift the moratorium. I believe the port has the right to deal with whatever tenant, whatever manner it wishes, whether you have a moratorium or not. And unless you're directing me that I can't speak with them and proceed with, even if you want to call preliminary lease negotiations, until you lift the moratorium, then I won't proceed with them. I don't get that from what I'm hearing here. I do think it's important to sit down with them. I do think that you know, they need to hear some of the concerns that have been raised. We need to work through those issues. Be happy to bring back some kind of you know, status or where we are and what we should do.
I think that dialogue is what needs to take place between you two, and then we can go forward there.
I thought Mr. McPherson said, though, that in order to invest the time and the resources to have that dialogue, you'd like to at
With all
least
due
see.
respect, Commissioner Salazar, that's why we want them to communicate. I think what we need to do at this point in time, seize this. There's a motion on the table right now. There's no second on that, so we're going to table this item.
I'll make a motion to table the item. And I don't want to put a date on it, but we can bring this up as soon as we have a recommendation.
Absolutely.
From Mr. Campirano can put it back on the agenda and address this issue at a later time.
I will second the motion, but I really want to emphasize that I really do want communication to happen, and you know, I can't, again, I'm not going to put a date either, but I definitely want there to be communication and move forward with this, and let's see if this can happen, and let's see,
Be
you know.
sure not to leave today until you have a phone call
Yes.
that we're going.
And I understand the expediency that's being expressed here to move with them, so
Okay, so
don't intend on
moving forward, we have a motion on the table by Commissioner Mazo to table, seconded by Commissioner Cristiano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 7, consider an action to amend Port of Brownsville leasing policy, section 6, number 5, entitled restrictions, to delete no additional ship dismantling or scrap yards will be allowed on the south side of the ship channel.
For the same reasons that I've discussed earlier, I'll make a motion to table this item together with items 6.
Okay, we We have a motion on the table by Commissioner Sabalazo, Commissioner Mazo, seconded by Commissioner De Los Santos. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8, consider an action to approve renewal of windstorm coverage protected municipal league with a premium of $204,444.
Yeah, you're
I
right
couldn't
here.
hear. Yes, you are.
Right here.
Okay. We received our windstorm renewal for, effective in July 9th. The windstorm has really gone up very small amount. We're still getting coverage on all of our properties, which last year covered.
We still have a meeting going on, please?
With Winspool, and, CML, we had it written by Victor Show. The premium was, $204,424, and that is with a $25,000, which is raised down slightly, so I go from a large deductible.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9, consider an action on contract number 3492 with Southern Metal Export Company to include taking action to terminate this lease due to default and authorizing staff to institute eviction proceedings if required.
We had reported earlier that we had a check, holding the deposit, that check is cleared. We've been talking to Messi. He is unable to come into the full amount today, and, feel that he's going ahead and terminating at this time from the thing. He can clear it by the next meeting, then we'll come back here. At this point, he's not going to make anything. Has he been in contact with the board, or? We have been in contact with them.
Go outside, please.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, but try to help them out. And we are,
Yeah.
and I hope to be able, and we'll put them on the agenda for next month. Yeah.
It'll be on at least another 30 days. Good enough. Okay, we have a motion on the table, seconded by Commissioner Cristiano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 10, consider an action on contract number 3493 with Choppa Shrimp Trawlers, Inc. to include taking action to terminate this lease due to default and authorizing staff to institute eviction proceedings if required.
I believe at the last meeting you asked to make a 50% payment on this account that Nancy did to me yesterday. So we are moving forward. I believe it was supposed to be for the current final next meeting, which is July 18th. It probably will not be. So we'll put it on the table tonight and put it back on the agenda for the next meeting, which they will then have.
Motion to. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 11, consider an action on assignments, negotiations, easements, subleases, and contracts in general. Item 1, Bay Bridge Enterprises LLC, authority to negotiate.
Make a motion to table that item.
Well, I'm sorry, one second, I'm sorry. Shouldn't we go ahead and, based on the fact that we already said that they are gonna be, talking, shouldn't we just allow, the director, the board director to have discussions with them? Or how do you see that? I'm asking more of a, based on the discussion that we had, you know, if we say no, that means you have to.
Any problem there, Dan?
What is that?
There's an application that's already been submitted. There's already been discussion. I mean, I perceive from this discussion, I'm going to continue, and I'm going to proceed, and some of the discussions that we'll have may be things that would be as if we're proceeding to the lease negotiation. So let's discuss it otherwise. I'm going to meet and with Ms. McPherson and move forward on some of these issues.
If it's okay with you, I would like to make a motion to allow, Mr. Campirano to speak, begin talks, and negotiate.
I'll withdraw my motion. I mean, it's already in negotiation.
All All those in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries.
Item two, Brownsville and Rio Grande International Railroad authority to negotiate.
The BRG, under contract 3575 is requesting, to build a parking lot, and, they're asking to revise their lease amount, and asking the board to give them authority to, amend their lease.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
Motion carries.
Item number three, Transmontane Operating Company LP authority to negotiate.
Transmontane is wanting to connect, their terminal on the north side from here to here to here, and I'm asking the board to give me authority to negotiate a pipeline easement, so we can, they can build a pipeline to connect all those terminals.
Just have a concern, regarding that, is that part of, I took it down already. They're gonna be working on, those roads, right?
Not this
Or
road,
that
this
one?
sector,
That's
this is not,
That's
all
all 48, there's
48,
no work on
all
that?
48, no.
Okay, so we don't have an issue regarding,
Gas line.
no?
The only exception would be once our new entrance for Texas comes in, and there may be some obstructions with the railroad, with our other route is to continue due east on Old Highway 48 onto the intersection. Based on the survey that we've done, I believe we have ample space in there for future growth. Right now, we have a 75-foot right-of-way, and the road itself, from the center line of the road is about 35 feet. So another 10 feet will be easily be able to accommodate, 4 lanes. And we still got about another 20 feet, and so there seems to be enough space to be able to
So you think it's gonna be about 30 feet from
accommodate
the
the
road?
pipeline.
The pipeline?
Yes, yes, basically from the edge of the road, as we speak, from the edge of the road to the power line, there's about 29 feet. And our intention is to basically locate this pipeline further north of the power pole. So we got that ample space to expand the road and expand our usage.
Was there a motion? I'll second the motion.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number four, Allied Mineral Products Inc. authority to negotiate.
Allied's, right of first refusal, expires August the 30th, and they're asking for a new right of first refusal. I'm asking the board to give me, authority to prepare a new right of first refusal.
Make a motion. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12, consider an action to select and enter into negotiations with an engineering firm providing services on the construction of the terminal road project.
Good afternoon. Well, we have had a chance to review and hear the presentations from the 3 engineering firms that were candidates for this particular project. I'd like to say that all 3 firms are very well qualified to do the work, with some of them having strengths on, with varying strengths and different approaches to the project. However, based on our selection criteria and our agreement with Texas, we need to rank them in order to begin negotiations with the first firm, with the top-ranked firm. Should negotiations not be agreeable, then we'll move on to the second firm, and so on until an agreement is reached with a suitable firm. Based on our evaluation criteria, which includes technical competence, the project approach, the staff, former similar experience, the organization, and the commitment to the project, the evaluation committee is recommending the following ranking, from top to number 3, LNG, engineering, S&B infrastructure, and Agritech civil engineering.
Was that unanimous?
Except for perhaps one of our evaluation committee members, yes.
So each 3 ranking?
Yes, what we did is that we reconvened in the Governor's office, all 5 of us, and we discussed the presentations. And while there were partialities towards more of a local firm, obviously Agritech, the team felt that given the project approach and their discussions, that LNG would be fine. Number 1.
And who was the committee?
That included Mr. Cristiano, David Pugh, Joe Garza, Don Enino.
Do you agree with this recommendation, Joe? Yes, sir. So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 13, consider an action on application for solid waste collection and disposal license. Item A, Red River Service Corporation.
We have, an application from Red River, they paid their fee, and submitted all the required documents, this is the record that we approved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B, Allied Waste Services.
Allied Waste Services is also known as the CFI. They have also submitted a completed application and recommendation.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, GMS Waste Disposal.
GMS has submitted their license application, however, we do have an outstanding balance for landfill charges with, GMS of approximately $62,000. I have discussed this with GMS, and they have committed to bringing the check on Friday. We are preparing it in Laredo, and we'll be bringing it in on Friday. Our recommendation is that,
Subject
like
to?
field, award subject to.
I'll make a motion subject to, them bringing that check in.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item D, ABC Collection.
ABC Collection, they're declining, making an application.
Mr. Chairman, just
Yes, sir.
before we leave this item,
Go right ahead.
I learned today why we're doing what we're doing, and I'd like to tell you that we may suggest that we revisit this issue perhaps after a year, see how this works. I think the problems that the port had were not necessarily the way, with an exclusivity issue, with the way it was being handled. So let's see how this works, and may come back with you at some time, and perhaps we can talk about how it could be done differently in the future, where we can look at an exclusivity and there would be some revenue to the port. But again, at this point, let's go forward with this method and see if it works. And
What are you referring to?
well, apparently, we were essentially we were in the garbage business. We did all the business, but we had an exclusive with a provider. We did all the work. Well, it seems to me that it needs to be the other way around. We have the authority to grant an exclusive right for someone to service this port. But that doesn't put us in the position of picking up the garbage, disposing of the garbage, doing all the billing. But what I'm saying is that I don't necessarily think having an exclusivity is a bad thing, or the wrong thing, but perhaps the way it was being done was what made it such a cumbersome and tedious process. So all I'm saying is that I'm not suggesting that you stop it now. Let's try this, and maybe after a year we can come back and look, see how it's working. And if we can look back at going the exclusivity route, but we're not the garbage, we're not actually doing all the work. We're simply allowing someone that opportunity in exchange for a percentage of doing business in this port. There may be some merit to that down the road.
And
That's all I'm
does this
suggesting.
have to do with ABC Collection?
No, any one of them.
Oh,
Any one of them. I'm just saying. We're going away from having had an exclusive license to have one provider serve to now letting everybody do it. But the problem, as I come to learn, at least understand, I think we were doing it perhaps in a way that it could be both serve the port and much better in the future. But let's just wait and see how this works.
Let the record reflect, Commissioners, I would like to support competition in all the sectors of the port.
Ms. Duke, how long are these, the licenses, for a year, or?
They're for 1 year.
Okay,
Start
so we
on
can come
July
back
1st,
next year and
then-
revisit it before they,
Exactly.
okay.
The record reflects what Mr. Campirano said, so we can come back in a year and review that. Okay? We've already voted on this. Yes.
Item 14, executive session.
Dave?
Ma'am.
Okay.
You made anything in executive session?
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Second. Move to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Nobody here public comment?
Me.